What are you expecting, like the outlook of the market in the next year? I know I've kind of been feeling like there's going to be a dip, but that's also been kind of what everyone's been feeling for the past year. Do you think the market kind of stays on its trajectory that it's on, or what are you kind of anticipating?
Yeah, that's a good question, Nicholas. I've actually never really paid attention to what might happen in markets and 1 year is a very short time, or even over multi-year periods. So I run a very concentrated portfolio. I don't have any short positions. By the time you get to my sixth or seventh position, we are talking about 80% or more of the portfolio. So what matters is what happens to those businesses. So the micro will trump the macro. I don't ever look at macro circumstances, who's the president, which party controls Congress. I think those are irrelevant data points from my point of view. What I focus on is, number one, the businesses that I'm interested in. Do I understand those businesses well? What are the future prospects of those businesses? And how do I think those businesses will perform long term? So I'll give you an example. In 2019, middle of 2019, I was in Istanbul in Turkey, and I had made a few trips to Turkey in the last few years and met with several dozen publicly traded Turkish companies. And towards the end of my trip, I met with one particular company, and I was really kind of blown away with the numbers and the quality of the people and all of that. It was quite interesting. Now, at that time in July 2019, the general macro scene in Turkey was that the currency was highly unstable. It was likely to go through significant devaluation. The leadership in the country left a lot to be desired, and foreign investors were exiting en masse. They were just bailing out. The business I was looking at, so there are many businesses, but I'll just put it simply to you. So this is the company that is the largest operator of warehouses in Turkey. They have 12 million square feet of warehouses, about 2.5 million of it is refrigerated. Their clients are like Amazon, Alibaba, Carrefour, IKEA. They've got like a blue chip client base. 99% of their warehouses are leased on long-term leases. They usually sign 10-year leases. And if the warehouse is rented to a multinational, usually the lease is in euros, and they got like 2-3% annual escalators. If it's rented to a Turkish company, they usually have inflation indexed rents increasing every year based on inflation. So you could buy the entire company at that time in July for about $40 million. And so if you take the 12 million square feet and divide it by the 40 million, you are paying less than $3.50 a foot for prime long-term leased warehouses to Class A tenants. And so you were paying, let's say, and actually if you bought the holding company, it was less than $3. But let's say we were buying this at $3 a foot. There was debt on these properties, which was about $17 a foot. So you had about $17 a foot of debt. You had $3 of basically embedded equity value. And the liquidation value of these assets was at least around $60 a square foot, $50, $60 a square foot. On a bad day, you could sell it for $50 a square foot. So you could liquidate this whole company, and basically you'd pay off the debt, and for every $3 you put in, you would get about $33 or 11 times your money. But that wasn't even the most interesting part of this for me. The father-son team that ran this business were exceptionally gifted capital allocators. And they had done a number of things I'd seen in the past where they were very smart about how they were allocating capital. So I could see that if I was paying $40 million for this company and it was worth maybe $400 or $500 million, that if I look far enough in the future, maybe 5 or 10 years from now, it would be worth a lot more than the 400 or 500 million, because they would be doing things that would add value beyond the liquidation value of the business. So after we had kicked the tires and done the work to assure ourselves that this wasn't any fraudulent, anything we were looking at, I spent an afternoon visiting all the warehouses and so on. We started buying the stock, and at that time I told you that people were kind of mass leaving Turkey. We ended up getting enough stock where now we own 1/3 of the company. It's the largest position we own in terms of percentage ownership of a company. And since we invested, the Turkish lira collapsed by 40%. So it went down just like people said it would go down. It went down quite a bit. To me, it did not matter if the currency used in Turkey was Seychelles or dollars or Turkish lira. It didn't matter what the currency was. It didn't matter how much it devalued. At the end of the day, those warehouses had a global value. They were prime properties in a prime metropolitan area, and so on. So even though we suffered a 40% devaluation in dollar terms, between then and now, we are up about 6 or 7 times what we paid. And we have not sold. We have no plans to sell. I told you about this change in mindset about thinking as an owner. The father-son team have done a number of things in the last year and a half, which have actually increased the value of the business, things that I didn't even have on my radar. So in making that investment, it never crossed my mind what is happening with GameStop, or what is happening with Tesla, or what is happening with the Fed, or who's going to be the next president, or what is going to happen to markets in the next 12 months. None of that is relevant. What is relevant is how well does the management team in this company run this business. That is all that matters here. And that's, I think, how one ought to look at a business. So if you were going to buy a McDonald's in Clemson and someone wanted to sell it, I mean, what you'd be focused on is, how has that McDonald's performed in the last few years? What kind of cash flows it's produced? What are the demographics of Clemson looking like for the next few years? And not much else beyond that would matter. And it would be, the price is reasonable, you could make a go at it. If it's unreasonable, you would take a pass. So that's how I look at the investments. I have no idea what markets will do in the next 12 months, and I really don't care.